Welcome to the Freedom Founder Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Duggar. Now, when I was younger, some of my more vivid memories have to do with stories people told me, stories that I listened to, stories that I read. Now, taking that kind of surrounding by stories and reframing that for marketing your message, for your product, for whatever your business might be, it's another perspective to consider. Now, I'm not anywhere an expert in this, nor do I know a whole lot about the topic. But my guest today, Jonny Holsten, knows about the StoryBrand framing. And I'm going to let you reframe what I just said in the
Of course,
correct
no
way.
worries.
But we're going to get into that topic today, talk a little bit about how to market your message in a more effective manner. So, Jonny, thank you for joining me today.
Of course, Zach, thanks for having me. Excited to dig into story and marketing and all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Now, let's kind of step back. Where were your first entree into entrepreneurship?
Well, my very first experience in entrepreneurship was growing up as a young kid. I was that boy mowing lawns in the neighborhood. So that was sort of my earliest days of entrepreneurship.
Yes.
Yeah, did that for years and years. I went to college and then on to new entrepreneurial stuff. I moved from Colorado to Arizona where there's a lot less lawns to mow. So that sort of guided my entrepreneurial journey.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, I started similarly. I'm mowing lawns, walking around the neighborhood. I live in Michigan, so also shoveling driveways during the winter time, deciding which house to stop at, which house not to stop at. But that's a great start and foundation when you can actually do something when you're young and you're motivated enough to put yourself out there and to achieve a goal. Just something simple like mowing your neighbor's lawn and then getting a few more jobs. But like you said, moving to Arizona, have a different story out there. So where did it take you next as far as your career path went?
For sure. So in 2019, I had just graduated from college. I ran track and cross country collegiately. So that was sort of my world for a long time. And when I graduated college, my first business was helping professional track athletes with their brand deals, with their marketing. So we were helping basically field some brand deals. And then, of course, it was more so on the agent side than like figuring out the details of that deal. And then in that, I really got into marketing because I learned like, hey, there's brands throwing big money at athletes who are saying the wrong things in their posts and not marketing products correctly. And it was sort of like a marketing fail for the brand at times without sound messaging. So a lot of times I would kind of be in the middle of that. And just from a perspective of marketing, like I can't believe a lot of these brands are just like having athletes post whatever they want for a pretty high dollar amount without any sort of thought process behind the messaging. So I started out more on the agent side, really got into the messaging marketing that way. And then when, of course, like a lot of us, we ended up changing plans in around 2020 and 2021 as everything changed. And so actually that whole season gave me the opportunity when the sports world slowed down for a long time to take a pivot and focus solely on messaging. And so since 2021, that's been, I ended the agency business and started now as a marketing messaging firm. And we've been doing that for 2 years now.
Okay. So that term, marketing messaging, what does that really mean? Can you kind of explain that clarify a little further for those of us who are less understanding of the topic?
Yes, that's my favorite question. So marketing messaging is choosing the right words in your marketing. So your marketing could be website, Facebook ads, Google ads, a presentation at a conference or a trade show. But your messaging is the words you're choosing to say on all of those platforms and in all of those avenues.
Okay. All right.
Essentially, your talking points for marketing.
Okay. All right. So really taking into consideration what those talking points are and being intentional about the messaging through those talking points and what you're expressing on any platform that you're using.
Exactly. So really the way it should work is your brand should have a message that really never changes. It should be just like a brand just like your logo and your colors, right? Like they're going to stay the same everywhere.
Yep.
Messaging and is no different. It should be that same way, so that no matter where you're presenting your brand and marketing, you're saying the same things, that not only to stay consistent, but to say things that are you've thought through that will work to
Okay.
market your company.
Okay. All right. Now, how does the StoryBrand frame network? I'm going to say that wrong again.
Yeah.
The
Framework.
StoryBrand framework work along with this marketing messaging? That seems in itself a whole framework, essentially an intentional process that someone would follow through how they would contain their messaging and put that out there.
Yes. So the StoryBrand framework was developed by a guy named Donald Miller, and
Okay.
he has written a lot of books. His most recent is How to Grow Your Small Business, Marketing Made Simple, and Building a Story Brand. So those are all very, very important books in my life
Mhm.
that all involve the StoryBrand framework. The way the framework works is it's the idea storytelling is a very powerful thing for a few reasons. One, the human brain daydreams for 30% or more of their waking hours, which means we're always telling ourselves a story,
Yeah,
in one way or the other. So if we
sure.
can use, storytelling in our marketing, it
Mhm.
makes it scientifically, it helps the brain conserve calories and tell a story about our brand helping them survive or thrive, which is kind of a core, like innate, almost primal desire. We're already always filtering through, is what I'm doing right now helping me survive or thrive? And if it's not, then our brain kind of tells us to move on. In today's modern world, we apply those same approaches to marketing, the marketing we engage with and choose to engage with. So if
Okay.
we can have our audience tell a story, they're conserving calories, which the brain recognizes as helping the brain survive. And then if we can communicate how we actually help our customers survive, that's why storytelling works the best. The real paradigm shift in the StoryBrand framework is there are
Mhm.
7 parts to it.
Okay.
Most brands think when you tell a story in your marketing, that means you tell the story of yourself or the story of your
Sure.
brand.
Okay.
And I would say A for effort, but the part that I love about the StoryBrand framework is you actually make the story about your customer,
Okay.
and you only really position yourself as the guide, which is a small part in the story, but the guide is it's a lot of it's with psychology. The guide in every story is subconsciously the most trustworthy person in the story. So
Okay.
think of like, hey, Mitch in the Hunger Games, he's the guide. Katniss is actually the one that's very weak and has the most transformation to go through. So we don't want to position our brands as that character in the story. We want to position them as the tried and true guide who's just kind of
Okay.
there off to the side to help. That's the whole idea of the framework.
Okay. Now, how long have you been utilizing the StoryBrand framework in the work that you're doing now?
Yeah, well, I became certified in the framework in 2021, and I was
Okay.
doing it before that for a little while, and then realized like this is really all that I want to do because it's so
Yeah.
powerful to walk brands and business owners through the framework. So it's been a few years now, and heading into my 3rd year with this business.
Okay. I like that. I think it's finding that path that you can walk down and help others to walk down adds a lot of value. And then when you can get more fully ingrained in it, as you said, and get certified, then you're able to even better be that guide to marketing for the other companies and individuals that you're working with. Now, you in the past had worked with athletes and helped them with their messaging. Now, what type of businesses or individuals are you working with now in the work that you're doing?
Yeah, I work right now actually I've worked with several community colleges and state
Okay.
colleges recently. So
Yeah.
the framework works great for every kind of business. So I always tell
Okay.
people I'm niched in the framework. I'm not niched in an industry.
Yeah.
That being said, I've done a lot in education recently, and then over the last couple of years, probably the next 2 industries I've done the most of would be leadership development and executive
Okay.
coaching is one, and
Yep.
then home service providers is probably the third.
Oh, interesting.
All of
Okay.
them, yeah, different things, but
Yeah.
all the framework works great for all of them.
Okay. And is that just in your local market, or are you finding that your reach is extending beyond where you currently live?
Yeah, so I'm in Arizona, and I only
Mhm.
have 1 one or two people right now locally I'm working with. I'm right. I think last year we worked in 16 different states, and we're
Okay.
already working in a couple different ones now. So it's very remote friendly, a lot of Zoom calls and doing things virtually, and
Yeah.
recently started traveling to do some on-sites and workshops and fun stuff
Okay.
like that to kind of break people out of the Zoom cage, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it's been a benefit to be able to do that, but also a benefit to have had that opportunity to really get people into Zoom and other virtual options so that we can reduce some of the travel that maybe wasn't a necessary thing at first, but also extending the reach that some of us have now that we wouldn't have otherwise had before because people weren't as familiar, weren't as used to using this technology then.
Yeah.
So just like the story brand framework, and you are not niched into a certain market, you're niched into the story brand framework. It sounds like you're also in multiple different areas. You're not isolated into working in Arizona where you live. You're working in multiple states with multiple different businesses across the country. So some businesses, some organizations want to have internally that support for their own marketing. So they want that additional support on the front end to get some expertise to bring it in there so that they can then do it themselves. Is that something you also do, is go in and help train companies to then be essentially the taking the reins of their messaging?
Yeah, so one of my favorite things to do is help a brand get set up with their
Okay.
messaging, create basically a messaging playbook. So they've
Okay.
got a bunch of next steps to execute internally, and then a lot of guidance on how to stay on message, filters to put the content they create through, and ways to think about what they write. That
Yeah.
is probably my favorite thing to do for some smaller companies who don't want to
Yeah.
bring marketing in house. At that point, we talk about how we can help them continually. But my favorite
Okay.
part is to go in and get like a 5-person team ready to roll or bigger on messaging, and
Yeah.
help them clarify their message and then execute it successfully. And
Okay.
and really for companies that do everything in house, it's like you've got how many people in your marketing team you're paying, and
Yep.
that is a lot of reach. You want to make sure all
Yep.
of those actions that they're making are really using words that are gonna drive revenue. So that's the
Yeah.
huge focus when working with a team.
Okay. So putting together that playbook and that guide essentially that they can then implement and carry out, and when needed, reach back out for some additional consultation and support, allowing them to then carry forward what you've taught them that they can do themselves. But you also do provide that ongoing support for organizations that might not have that available in-house.
Yeah, we do. It depends on. It's got to be the right fit,
Okay.
but we will. Our
Yep.
primary goal is to go in, do that playbook, and when we do a playbook or a big brand message project,
Yep.
there's 3 of us that are working on it with the client.
Yep.
So our goal is to do that, and then equip the team, and then stick around basically on we could be there as an as needed basis or a continual check in each month with the team to make sure they're staying on
Yeah.
message. Something that we do on those big projects is we'll actually create a round of content that could be a website landing page, that could be an email sequence with the playbook, because we do a series of trainings at the end of that
Hmm.
project, and we like to have content to say this is an example of how your message fits in on a website or an email sequence. So we do content in all projects to serve as a training
Yeah.
tool. And then
Yep.
sometimes for a different, smaller brand, we would do like a year of nurture emails, or we'd rewrite the homepage of their
Okay.
website and stuff like that.
Sure. Okay. Now, how could a company really know if they're having a messaging problem as it currently stands, and then realize we need some support with this?
Yeah, I would say, if I'll keep it on the two different types of kind of client profile. If you're
Yeah.
a someone with a marketing team putting a lot of money behind marketing or ad spend, and you've invested in that, some of those signs would be people still on your team don't really know how to everything they produce and create sounds a little different. They don't
Yep.
quite know how to talk about your products or services. It's not very everything you see is different, and you feel like it's off, but you just don't even know how to like critique it, because you're not maybe the director is not a great marketing director, is not like specialized in messaging, or the business owner isn't. So that's a symptom. Everything sounds different, and each time you go to create marketing collateral, it sounds like you're marketing a different company. On the flip side, it could just be you have a lot of website traffic and you're getting no conversions, or the people you're getting into your system are really low quality leads. They don't understand what you do, and they're not the right fit. That's probably the biggest, especially for someone without a huge marketing team. That's a big one, right? Like, you're getting leads that are booking calls with you or going into your system, but they don't even understand quite what you do.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that makes sense. Now, when you started, did you just start this on your own, or did you have somebody working with you at that time?
I started it on my own, because the real best application, or the first application for the StoryBrand framework, is website. So first it was website copywriting and messaging, and then it's grown from there. And now there's 3 of us.
Okay. All right. I would say multiple states, working with companies. You definitely need to multiply yourself in some capacity. So it's excellent to have that team support you mentioned there.
It's been fun.
Shifting gears a little bit, if someone asks you, man, I'm really interested in becoming an entrepreneur, what is a big tip that you give to somebody who's interested in becoming an entrepreneur and starting a business?
I would say you've got to, and this is all non-original thoughts, right? These are things that other people have said. So just sharing probably the most impactful, the most impactful things for me is find a major problem, and then find a major problem that you're good at solving, and something that you really enjoy. When I first started this, I was like, I didn't almost want to go into StoryBrand because I thought I had to build websites to do it. And then I had some really good advice given to me in my life, where people were saying, hey, if you want to work only on words and only on messaging, like, absolutely, that's a narrow lane that you could fit in, and that's acceptable, right? So I think even if you think what you do is a little too small or a little too narrow, the truth is it's probably not. And in fact, that will probably make you even more successful. But make sure that what you're passionate about is you can package it in a way that solves a big problem for your customers.
Okay. No, that makes sense. I think it's a great and essential consideration when you're starting a business. What is the problem? How can you help solve that problem? What is your expertise and interest and focus and passion that you can fit into that problem that you can help solve? All right. Now, a different question I like to ask all of my guests. If you were to be handed $1 million with no restrictions on that, how would you invest that in your business or another endeavor, and why?
Oh, great question. Well, my business, I would use it to buy space. And right now we're really leaning into the higher ed space, and a lot of those events and conferences are where we make really good connections. So right now we're spending a lot of time being creative on partnering to get into those spaces. If I had $1 million, I would probably just go ahead and purchase as much stage space and booth space, and for the next couple of years to drive that and just, that lead gen a little bit. And then, I would say that would be it. I probably, I work with a lot of home service businesses that are kind of making, I would say, a lot of mistakes in a lot of ways. So I may try to buy a couple of businesses and revamp their marketing and processes and use those to start generating some more money.
No, I like
of course,
that.
pay off the house is the cliche answer, but that,
right.
I would find a way to do that too.
Absolutely. But I like that it's not just a consideration of, okay, what could I do for my business? But I see these other opportunities in these other businesses, but taking your skill set within that business that you could buy to increase that revenue over time and create that additional cash flow for yourself, but still using your skills that you've acquired and continue to work on improving over time. So I like that answer.
Oh yeah. A funny, more creative one that I haven't done no research on. So if someone's listening and this is a bad idea, just forgive me for it. I've been reading some on these ghost kitchens where people are putting like Uber Eats kitchens in a kind of a failing mom and pop restaurant. They'll put like an Uber Eats or DoorDash kitchen operating outside of those, and blow it up. So
Oh,
that
interesting.
is something that I have thought about. It seems like it's very simple. There's
Hmm.
almost no barrier to entry. You really just sign up you find a kitchen to work out of and sign up on the apps and get some branding.
Okay.
And so that is something that I would probably look into as well, getting that rolling.
Okay. All right. That is
An
not
idea.
something I'm familiar with either. So definitely
Hey,
something of interest to look into a little further.
yeah, yeah. If you find anything cool, let me know. If you figure out it's a bad
Absolutely.
idea, please let me know too.
Definitely. Definitely. Both. Absolutely. Well, Johnny, if anybody wants to reach out to you to find out more about the work that you're doing, what is the best way for someone to connect with you?
Yep, great question. The best one is my website, or our website, southmountainmessaging.com. There's
Okay.
a way to set up a call. When we'll speak just like this. If you just would like to connect, and I share on my LinkedIn several times a week, just messaging thoughts, how to improve your messaging. So if you want to follow from afar, LinkedIn, Jonny Holsten is the way to go. And then Instagram, I don't do much work on there, but if you want to shoot me a message, same thing, Jonny without an H,
Okay.
Holsten. Yeah, if you'd like to talk directly, my website's the fastest way to do it. And if you'd like to follow from a distance, then social media is a good one. LinkedIn, probably the best.
Okay. So southmountainmessaging.com, Jonny Holsten, JonnyHolsten, Jonny Holsten. All right, Johnny, I appreciate the conversation and finding out a little bit more about the StoryBrand framework. Got it right that time.
You nailed it. That's
And
great.
the messaging that you're working on to help businesses to be successful. You are a guide to marketing, and I do hope to see your company continue to blow up over time, just like these Uber Eats that may or may not be the opportunity. But what you're doing definitely is an opportunity to help improve a lot of businesses and a lot of lives. So thanks for the work you're doing, and thanks for the conversation.
Awesome. Thank you, Zach. This was great. Keep it up as well.